Good morning again. My name is Ron Roth. This reflection, like life, is a series of breadcrumbs that will lead you along the path of discovery, identity, self-worth, engagement, fulfillment, meaning, and awareness. My purpose is to present a dialectic. What is a dialectic? It's an investigation into the truth of our opinions, this time about human work, and the consequences of our values to our value system of creating thinking machines. By that I mean artificial intelligence. When I meet someone for the first time, I always ask, "What do you do?" Invariably, they'll answer with their occupation or explain why they're not working. But if I ask, no, what do you love to do? I always get an entirely different answer. Why is it that so many people don't do what they love to do? I love to sing and compose music, but I don't do that for a living. I also love computers and the cool software that makes them useful and fun. When I was 11 years old, a friend of my mother's gave her a TRS-80 color computer he was no longer using. Some of you know what that is. Made by the Tandy Corporation, I think. And she gave it to me along with a tape drive, a book on Microsoft Basic, and several copies of Compute magazine containing hours and hours of code you could type into the computer in order to play games or turn your computer into a cash flow manager or a coupon filer. You could use dynamic bookkeeping or run a utility audit. Very fun stuff. I once spent an entire Saturday entering a text-based adventure game into that computer that allowed you to interact with the story of Tom Sawyer, titled "Where's Tom?" Only to find out that the tape drive wouldn't correctly save the program. It was fun for a few minutes. That was okay because I could still follow along with the basic programming guide and learn how to program random colors and shapes to float across the screen and sounds to make 8-bit music. So if you asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I'd have told you I wanted to be a computer repairman. I didn't know what you called a programmer back then. I did end up becoming a software engineer, writing applications that changed the way people do their work. For the past 23 years, I love what I do. But what's wrong with the rest of you? I mean, the rest of the country. Here are some facts from a recent Pew Research Center poll from about 5,800 American workers. About 4 in 10 workers, 39%, say their job or career is extremely or very important to their overall identity. About a third of workers with jobs that can be done remotely are working from home all the time. I'm one of them. Lower income workers are less likely, less than 2/3, to have access to key employer-sponsored benefits. Black workers, 41%, are the most likely to say they've been discriminated against in the workplace because of their race or ethnicity. About 2/3 of workers, ages 65 and older, this is 7% of the workforce in 2022, if you didn't know. They say their jobs are fulfilling, 68%, or enjoyable, 65%, all or most of the time. 1 in 4 women and only 1 in 10 men report they have been discriminated against or been treated unfairly by an employer in hiring, pay, or promotions because of their gender. 15% more self-employed workers find their jobs enjoyable and fulfilling than the non-self-employed. So go start a business. A study from the Employee Benefit Research Institute found that While most seniors are indeed happy, a higher percentage happy in retirement, a higher percentage are feeling more dissatisfied than before, 12% drop in the last 15 years. So this last statistic, gratefully we're at the end of them, won't come as a surprise. 1 in 6 retired people say they are thinking about getting a job, while 3% actually return to the workforce within 1 year of retirement. So many vital benefits key to survival and fulfillment have been tied to the ability to maintain gainful employment that one might come to believe that work is all we're good for. Without work, retirement savings, disability, or a benefactor, I could use one of those, we are homeless and considered by many a burden on society. Perhaps our perception of work is too narrowly focused on survival, pay, and benefits. We are a society overstressed with work, obsessed with work to the point of inventing a new addiction in the 60s, workaholism, the uncontrollable need to work incessantly. It's a common trait for all company executives the world over. A new term may apply, workism, coined by American journalist Derek Thompson in 2019. The belief that work is not only necessary for economic production, but also the centerpiece of one's identity and life purpose. No wonder why some seniors want to go back to that. The feeling that you have to be productive every hour of the day, or that you constantly have to be meeting goals to be successful, comes from the ideals of hustle culture. In every form of society across history, citizens are expected to work, and every system of government is expected to sustain an economy that can provide steady work for its citizenry. If it cannot, workers seek opportunity in another country or city that can. This is the story of America to this day. Dr. Lisa Miller of Columbia University says that the mental health field, minus the spiritual core, makes no sense. In her research, a sharp decline in personal spiritual life leads to elevated rates of addiction, depression, and suicide. She characterizes spirituality as a deep and unlimited resource that protects us against diseases of despair. She describes the achieving awareness as important, but when it becomes the sole focus, it leads to depression. Connecting to a higher power and sustaining spiritual life is neuroprotective against depression. Altruism, love of neighbor, correlates strongly with the fortification of the awakened brain. But what happens when work is over? With work being such a vital component of adult life, why do the majority spend so much of it being unhappy or disengaged? What is it about work that brings fulfillment and meaning to life? Few people have dedicated their life's work so completely to answering these questions as Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, a Hungarian-born researcher and World War II prisoner who moved to America in his 20s. His early studies focused on happiness and creativity. Imagine coming from a war to studying happiness. It was through these studies that Csikszentmihalyi started to look into what he would later term flow. Now that's a word you recognize. The state of being where one's performance is heightened and one really starts to come alive. Csikszentmihalyi defined flow as being so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The ego falls away. Time flies. Every action, movement, and thought flows inevitably from the previous one, like playing jazz. Your whole being is involved, and you're using your skills to the utmost. The concept of flow has withstood the test of time, and it entered the vernacular to such an extent that its source had been lost, which is why I've reminded you. I suggest that the separation of work from enjoyment, leisure, and spirituality is a major cause of America's health and mental health crises. Csikszentmihalyi says that the best moments in our lives are not the passive, receptive, relaxing times. The best moments usually occur if a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. To be in a flow state, an individual must have complete concentration on the task, clarity of goals and reward in mind, and immediate feedback, transformation of time, like speeding up or slowing down. The experience has to be intrinsically rewarding. There's an element of effortlessness and ease, a balance between challenge and skills. Actions and awareness are merged, losing self-conscious rumination. I think that part is key. A feeling of control over the task. According to the neuropsychological studies of Arne Dietrich, flow has been associated with decreased activity in the prefrontal cortex. It silences the inner critic, loses our sense of time, and decreases self-consciousness, reduces neuroticism, and allows more brain areas to communicate freely and engage in a creative process. I think flow is a natural component in human evolution. As our species mastered new skills in husbandry to care, cultivate, and breed crops and animals, masonry to establish tools and to establish homes and cities, metallurgy and smithing to create tools and weapons for trade and defense, and milling to create paper and preserve in books our knowledge. It is our unique use of tools that sets us apart from all other species. Flow is an essential part of all this apprenticeship and mastery-based learning programs. The expert spends thousands of hours in a flow state, achieving perfection in complete concentration while using tools as an extension of the self. The creation, care, and advancement of tools by the paragons of trade and industry enables individuals to build and create at scales hundreds and thousands of times greater than human capacity. Human fulfillment, identity, and self-worth are inextricably linked to the tools and products of our creative endeavors. In my search, I can find no better celebration of human fulfillment and the connection between the human person and their tools than the Hindu festival of Ayudha Puja. Today, we celebrate a Unitarian Universalist participation in Ayudha Puja. Together with the UU congregation of Saratoga Springs and others around the country, we partnered with AI and Faith and AIandthehuman.org to consult with UU Hindu leaders. They have helped us create a ceremony to participate in Ayudha Puja, which means worship of tools. And it falls on October 23rd this year. Depending on where you celebrate it in India, you might make an offering to Saraswati of pens, paper, books, and musical instruments, and computers to signify the victory of knowledge over ignorance. You might dedicate a plow, a hammer, or a service vehicle to Lakshmi, the goddess of prosperity. Or you could offer the weapons of a soldier or the legal books of a lawyer to Parvati, the goddess of power. Ayudha Puja places our tools and machines on a pedestal of veneration and contemplation, not to be used for one single day. I think it is in taking a moment to contemplate and appreciate our tools that we grow closer to understanding and right thinking about them. Few tools achieve the same fear, hype, and misunderstanding as artificial intelligence. No other tool since the Manhattan Project has the same potential to disrupt work as we know it. It has already begun. But AI is also meant to be a force for good in this world. Its use and development have spiritual, moral, and ethical implications worth discussing and advocating. Any good tool requires care in its crafting and diligence in its maintenance if it is to deliver the expected results and prevent harm from its use. AI is no different. As with every industry, every worker, and every tool, government regulations do temper the unscrupulous practices of the world's biggest corporations. AI is just as dangerous. Now, I suggest that the most effective remedy for fear and ignorance is understanding and knowledge. This is at the heart of Ayudha Puja, at the heart of our celebration today. This is what we celebrate. And that is why AI and the Human, a UU-focused nonprofit, has agreed to work with AI and faith experts to provide monthly AI-themed content to the Soul Matters sharing circle, of which we participate. That is how we are bringing the AI conversation to UU congregations. I implore you to watch our first interview with AI and faith expert Robert Garaci and join our next discussion on October 26th. It features questions by our interim minister, Reverend Kathy Turicki. Our work is our identity. What we do is who we are. What we give back to the world, it gives back self-worth. When we engage in meaningful effort together, it allows us to let go of the cares of the world and simply be. The way we honor our tools of our labor, those who created them, and the values they promote in a just society is how we become aware of the value of human work. Ayudha Puja is a celebration of the divine spark of creativity in humanity. That spark must be protected, nurtured, and reignited through the love and life of our beloved community. Thank you for listening. The occasion of the Ayudha Puja commemorates the victory of the Goddess Durga. Test. There we go. The occasion of Ayudha Puja commemorates the victory of the Goddess Durga over the buffalo demon Mahishasura, the triumph of good over evil. In Hinduism, any day that you abide by the Dharma, the right way of living, is a triumph of good over evil, the order and custom that sustains life and makes the universe possible.
As Unitarian Universalists, the 7 principles guide our actions in much the same way. Today, we honor this source of truth by cleaning and caring for our tools and honoring the traditions that sustain order and justice in our world so that all may one day live in peace and a just world.
At this time, I want to invite anyone who has brought a tool or a picture of a tool to the front to place it in our puja table. The table is decorated, if you can't see on Zoom, with fruits, with flowers, and with musical instruments, as is typical on any puja venerated platform. So if you have anything, if you're on Zoom, please type in a tool that you would like to honor today, and our Zoom chaplain will read them aloud. Me, Ron Roth, I brought hymnals, our hymnals, that's singing the journey and singing the living tradition. Sharon Drew brought a Phillips screwdriver. Celia Hirsch brought maracas. Nancy Hutter brought her ears for listening. Kathy Nelson, stethoscope. Judy Kaiser, a pen. Bet Willett, a phone, as well as Mary Wickensheimer. Johnny Rogers brought, I think this is pets. That's what it looks like. Sandy and Rick, their phones. Bill Jensen, his phone is a tool. Courtney Cannon, a water bottle. Ellen Cormier, her sewing machines. It's all packed right now. Charlie Cormier, a box cutter. John Tilson, PC, Tilton. Linda Prentice, sewing scissors. Ted Seidel, my pen. Howard Prentice, cell phone. Corey Galvin, GPS. I don't think we would have gotten here this morning without it. Barbara Messick, her iPhone. Graham Messick, USB stick. Luis Malush's laptop phone, and Kylie Accardi phone for social media. 4 more.
On Zoom, we have Eileen Carter, who's bringing a fountain pen, and Jim Smith, who's bringing a pen, paper, and a typewriter.
Emil Kessler, a wristwatch. Me, a statue of Hote and a book of readings on Thanks Be for These. And Diane Garland, ears, and Karen Shelley, computer.
Tools and all implements of vocation are first cleaned. All the tools, machines, vehicles, and other devices are then painted or polished, after which they are smeared turmeric paste. Not smear that on your laptop. Sandalwood paste with a tilak, which is an insignia or mark, and kumkuman, a vermilion color.
Then in the evening, previous to the puja day, they are placed on an earmarked platform and decorated with flowers. In the case of weapons of war, they are also cleaned, bedecked with flowers and tilak, and placed in a line adjacent to a wall.
On the morning of the puja, that is on the Vamami day, they are all worshipped along with the images of Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Parvati. Books and musical instruments are also placed on the pedestal for veneration. On the day of the puja, these are not to be disturbed. No, I will let you take your laptop back. The day is spent in veneration and contemplation.
In a puja at a Hindu temple, a priest may perform a homa, chanting mantras and reciting prayers before a square platform built of bricks to hold a sacrificial fire, which attendees use to burn offerings of incense, seeds, and dried milk to invoke the gods and seek their blessings in the coming year. After the ceremony, the platform is dismantled.
Ayudha Puja honors the worker by setting aside the tools for a whole day to seek the blessings of learning, prosperity, knowledge, and self-governance. May we all have a happy Ayudha Puja and best wishes for a year of success in the great work that we do